You're listening to For Better and Worse with Jess and Rach. Hello. There we go.
Oh my God, I feel a little rusty. I'm not going to lie.
I feel like that is the negative of doing podcasts once a month.
Yeah.
Is dusting off every time.
Dusting off. Also, like, we don't see each other. So it's like hard to like catch up all. I know, I feel like there's more to report when you see each other weekly rather than monthly because you're like, where do I even start?
Yeah.
You know? Especially
we start with the trauma. We start with the trauma we can't drop on you guys.
We always do. Or we end with it. Because I feel like after talking for about 2 hours, we're like, all right, I've warmed up enough to tell you what's actually been going on.
Yes.
Yeah, that's typical behavior. Well, welcome back, guys. This is For Better and Worse podcast. If you haven't forgot about us, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you for waiting a month to listen to us. That means a lot.
It does. Truly, we can't say it enough. We appreciate the patience and everything that we've been given. And we will get back to you on a weekly basis.
At some
or
point.
Or more frequently, at least. TBD.
Right.
I think it will just happen. It'll be like how we went away. It'll happen as quickly. We're not planning ahead. We're going to see.
Yeah. And I feel like that's commendable, right?
We are good at this.
Yeah. I'm just saying it's a boundary or it's a commitment we can't fully commit to at this time. So why do that to ourselves,
yeah.
You know?
So much is changing. So much is
happening. I know life's getting real. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
I mean, Rach is pregnant. Joe and I are making some serious 6-month plans.
6-month plans?
Yeah, well, we got to be out of this house. My sister Britt is moving home in June.
Okay.
Which will come soon enough, you know? So it's like we got some serious work to do. Which it's all exciting stuff. It's all good stuff, but yeah, things are very real. So thanks for being along for this journey.
Yeah, lots of change. The winds are changing.
The winds of change.
The winds of change are among us. But Jess and I were talking this morning about our productivity schedules because she's like, I could do tomorrow morning, and I was like, no can do.
I'm like, what about Wednesday? And you're like,
yeah.
Actually, no, I need to.
I don't know if anyone else is like this, but I have to just sit down and work in the morning. I literally wake up, put on my robe, sit down, get on my computer, start the coffee, and go.
Same, and I called it the caffeine buzz. Yeah. I need my caffeine buzz to get anything done. Anything that's like on my checklist that is just, AKA editing. I'm not going to call it anything else. Anything else I can get done without a coffee buzz, but the editing needs to be done within that time frame.
Yep. Like I get around to brushing my teeth sometime around noon. You know, like once I emerge. But I tried to like have a morning schedule. It's like, ooh, maybe I go for a walk, and then I'm like, no, then I'm tired by the end of it. I need to. Oh, my eye is itching. Don't spill. Stay where you are. Sorry.
We got it.
Got some new glasses from My Buy Direct.
So did I. Yeah.
Yeah. Course has been chewing everything. So. Got his first training today.
How exciting. What did you guys do? Who are you going with?
Just some lady.
Some local chick?
Yeah. To the Akron area. She's coming to the house, and I'm sure she's going to be like, both your dogs are fucked up. We need to train both of them. And I'm going to be like, you're right.
Yeah. Let's just focus on one, though.
Yeah. But she actually specializes in like pack training. Like she has a lot of like,
oh, cool.
Like knowing how dogs interact with each other because
I think that's good for you.
Yes,
then.
because Barley and Cores will feed off of each other, but not all the time. And I don't speak dog. This lady does. We can only hope. So
yeah.
We shall see. But
that's exciting, though. I know that was something.
The dread of the honesty. You know, like when a dog professional comes into your house and it's like, yeah, these are how my dogs are.
I don't think
raw and real.
Yeah,
raw and real.
You're right, because my trainer didn't come to the house, but if so, I'd be like, it's not always like this, you know.
Oh, I'm like Where's the Benadryl?
Yeah, that's a no one's. That's a no one's benefit, though.
Should I cheat? Should I give him the melatonin, the doggy melatonin?
Oh my gosh.
So they are a little bit more docile. My God, it's just embarrassing. It's like, because
it is what it is. Dogs are wild by nature. Like they are, like all the stuff, the bad behaviors that dogs do, that's what they're supposed to be doing. We just have to train them otherwise. So I'm going to say 99.9% of dogs are just jumping on people, doing these bad things, but it's tolerable to you, whoever lives in the house, you know?
Yeah.
It's when other people come in, especially dog people who are trained in dog training are like, you think that they're judging, but that's what they're there to fix. So,
well, the thing that like will get me is like a lot of Barley's behaviors were more tolerable to me when I didn't have two of them. Like Barley will jump, but like she'll jump twice and then she's over it. Chorus doesn't stop. He wants you to pick him up and hold him like a baby. Yeah. That's what he wants. He just wants to be inside of your body. Yeah. Truly. He is obsessed, but it's like you can't feed into that behavior.
But also you want him to stop.
Right.
I know. Maybe a little bit of parenting we're getting into. Like a little foreshadowing of like some type of things that you do for your kid too that just enables some bad behaviors. I know. As someone who has dealt with some behaviors in the autism commune, I get it. I get it. As in dog training, I get it. It's like you're training your kid too, but it's just...
Isn't that weird?
Yeah. But it's kind of fun. ABC, antecedent behavior consequence. It's all about it.
Hey. Maybe that's why you're so good at training dogs.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. I think I'll have my kid on a behavior plan probably around 3 when it starts acting up.
Oh, my God.
Don't act up in this house. Refer to the chart. Refer to the visual stimuli. Thank you. No words will be spoken. I'm just going to be holding up visuals with Velcro at all times. And it'll work, okay?
I did want to say, as we're talking about like kids and pregnancy and whatever, someone did message us on the pod last month and asked about like what I was doing for my mental health on like while pregnant, because they were saying how, you know, they've been on medication, they want to start trying soon, and like what I did. The answer was I stayed on my medications, guys. I stayed on. I feel like my doctor's office is pretty like good about that kind of stuff. Like so technically I'm on 2 medications. I'm on an antidepressant and a mood stabilizer. And the mood stabilizer I've been on for like 11 years. And I don't want to know me off of it, to be honest. I don't need to meet her. I don't need to meet her pregnant either. That's for sure. But it's a Schedule C or something. I think they might have gotten rid of that whole scale, but basically it means there's no proof that it's safe for pregnancy, meaning they haven't done like clinical trials to do it, but there also is no proof that it's not safe. Like there haven't been any like major reports of like anything. And so I was like, good enough for me. I will be staying on my medications. And I just had to take more folic acid, which actually my cousin who's a nurse years ago told me that you just need to end up taking more folic acid. So a lot of medications, unless they've been proven to have birth defects, which like there are medications that cause birth defects. You got to load up on the folic acid. I'm not a doctor. Talk to your doctor. But I do feel like
there's hope there.
Yes. It's your mental health. And like in the end, it's like I want to be healthy and as happy as I can be this pregnancy. And I felt pretty good this pregnancy. I haven't felt like
mental health.
Mental health.
Like,
no,
physically down bad. DB.
Yeah, no, physically down bad, but emotionally, I haven't felt like I've been out of control or like even very moody. Just a little bit more weepy.
Yeah, I would. Yeah,
weepy in the first try, but I feel like I've leveled
stabled
out.
It on.
Yeah, I get a little bit whiny, but
I've witnessed that.
I got a hot flash the other day, and I was like, "This is the end." Somebody canceled the wedding today.
Witnessed
I can't make it.
When Josh came downstairs when we recorded the last podcast, and you're like, you were fine, like talking to me, and then Josh was around. You're like, "Ooh, I need the whites." I was like, and then he said, "Welcome to the Thunderdome, Jess." I was like, "Is this what you're like when I'm gone?" And Josh said, "Welcome to the Thunderdome." I'm like, that is so funny,
and it's true.
Yeah. Well, you can put it on for your
but
husband.
Luckily, I felt good mentally.
Good.
And I attribute that obviously to my medications. So thank God for those. So if you are afraid, a lot of antidepressants specifically are now like safe. I felt like even 8 years ago or so, like when I was getting on medications and like when I was thinking like, oh, how am I going to get pregnant? Like they hadn't done enough research on medications, but I feel like a lot has changed now. And in the end, we're not like breeding cattle, so we deserve to have an enjoyable experience while being pregnant as much as we can. But I just feel really lucky for my doctor's office. Like, they aren't assholes to me. Like, I truly feel like there are some practitioners that are like literally trying to control women's bodies. Like, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. And it's like, why though?
Yeah.
Why though?
I am grateful too that even if you do feel that way, if they're like, no, absolutely not, cut it out. Like, I would go get it a second opinion. I'd go ask another doctor just to be completely sure. I feel like that with anything, you know, if it's something you don't feel in your heart of hearts is like right, or like there has to be a second opinion or another option. There are, just do what's right for you.
Yeah. But there has been a bit of like anxiety. I've always had intrusive thoughts. And so I just think intrusive thoughts take on another space when you're like worried about another human being, because like I've started taking a lot of back roads. I'm like, I don't want to get into a high speed collision, you know, like might as well take an extra 10 minutes. And you know, so it's like, but I have to always gauge is like, I do also enjoy taking back roads, so it's not like that out of, but it's like, what are you doing this from? What state of mind?
Yeah.
You know, like are you anticipating that you're going to get in a car accident, or are you just thinking like, hey, let's just take an extra 10 minutes and go at a slower speed? I don't know.
But also, like, if feeding into the intrusive thought can get you down some rabbit hole or not in a mental space, that would cause some issues. But also, it's like in all reality, it's not the worst thing to add 10 minutes to your drive for
It's very
for the safety of
but
you and
know,
another
you don't
human.
want it to get out of control.
Oh, believe.
But the other night, Josh fell asleep at like 8:30, which is like absolutely unheard of. I was like on FaceTime with my dad for his birthday, and like Josh, like thought he was like in on his phone. I was kind of like annoyed, like, why aren't you saying hi to my dad on his birthday? But he had fallen asleep, and so it's like 9:30. I'm like, oh fuck it, I'm going to bed, getting ready for bed, and I like look over and I like can't see his chest rise and fall. I can't like hear him breathing, and so I think, what if he's dead? What if he is dead? And you know what I decided to do, Jess? I got to take my meds. I rolled over, was like, you're going to need these later if your husband's dead. You're going to thank yourself for taking your
Wait,
your
why
meds.
didn't you go to the body and wake him to see if he was dead?
Because I needed to take my meds first. I thought,
you were like, hey.
thought was, what if he's dead? What if he's not breathing? If he isn't, you got to take your meds. And you're not going to take them after you find out. You know, like, you're not going to be like, my husband's dead.
God.
Let me take my meds. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the... So I was like, right now it's just a thought. I'm like, the bitch has sleep apnea. You should be giving me something.
Well, does it... Well...
But I just get a little... He's like, what? I was like, hey, just making sure
but
you're still
doesn't
alive.
the apnea... Like, doesn't he stops breathing for a second, then it's like a...
Yeah. Yeah, because he's not a snorer of the apnea. Thank God.
Which is a blessing. The blessing.
You Are you speaking from experience, Jess?
Yes. PSA, Joe and I have been sleeping in separate bedrooms. And that is not because our marriage is suffering. It's because he is so down bad with snoring. And it's fine. I don't... Actually, if you haven't tried it, give it a go, okay? If you're just suffering from sleep because your partner is snoring, this sounds like an infomercial. Do you suffer from sleep? Give it a go. I'm telling you, it's been great. I love sleeping alone. Always have. Always will. So no surprise there. But yeah, Joe snores so loud. He's in the process of setting up all of the sleep study. He's gone to the doctor. So we're just awaiting the machine or whatever it is. But other than that, your girl is getting some quality ass sleep with these Brooklinen sheets. I got a new pair of sheets with a duvet cover. They always have sweet deals, guys. Brooklinen, we're not sponsored, but we would love to be. if you're
I
listening.
like that you're like, my husband wants to be in my bed anymore. I'm going to get the nice sheets.
And I did. And I'm like, sorry you don't get to indulge in these.
Hey,
Only nap times you can go up. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No.
Is he downstairs and you're upstairs? You're literally floor apart.
Yeah, it's fine. It works as we hang out all day. Like, we see each other. It's not like a sense of like we sit on the couch. I still get rub-ins from Dr. Rabinski, prescription.
Thank God.
Only.
Hey, that's how you know the marriage is still alive.
And if Dr. Rabinski didn't pull through, then the marriage would be suffering. But no, I'm just kidding. Everything's fine. Honestly, it's all good. I'm not worried about it. It sounds weird when people are like, we're sleeping in separate bedrooms. Everyone's like,
No, I think that works for people.
It does.
Like, especially if people like are on different like work schedules, different.
I'm telling you, like that. I'm sleeping next to him. It's not like quality time spent. We're sleeping.
Right.
So, yeah.
Some people are way too serious about
everything.
Oh my God. If I hear one more time at a wedding the advice of don't go to bed angry, I'm gonna lose my absolute shit.
Okay.
Because
it's so
I'm
funny
like,
we brought this up in another podcast episode of like advice.
I feel like I've heard it at so many weddings lately. Like even like, you know, the officiant will say it. I'm like, I understand. Don't go to bed if you have like active resentment for someone. But also like if it's 1 o'clock in the morning and you have an argument that can't be resolved, don't bury it just for this, like, because you have this thought of like, don't go to bed angry. It's like, it's okay. You're allowed, like,
yeah, we still love each other. Right. But yeah, everyone always says that. And I think it's for lack of better advice. Like you're not willing to go deep down in your marriage to tell me what actually is going on with the specific example of advice. I'm fine. I mean, you're going to go to bed angry. I've gone to bed angry. I'm still married. I'm still in love with my husband. It's not make or break.
I'm always going to feel better in the morning. I'm always going to wake up and be like,
and need that caffeine buzz to be doing my best work.
Right.
And that means resolving some issues with you.
Because me just spiraling in the same like anger circle, that's not helping anybody.
Yeah. Joe and I call that the dance, where we're just, we have no idea. We actually sometimes have no idea what we're talking about at the end of an argument. We're like, where even are we?
Oh, yeah.
And then we're like, and that's when you're like, call it. Fucking
call it.
Call it. Just call it.
Like as long as you still have like love and respect for a person, I don't understand how you. It's just something that I'm always like, I'll never put that shit in a film. It'll never make it into a film.
Sorry.
I'll tell you what. I don't agree.
Also, can we talk about the advice that
unless I'm like maybe a really cute old couple would say it and they really mean a lot to you, then I would. But
okay, that's what I was gonna talk about. The advice that the old couple gives
every
in the anniversary dance.
Every time it's either happy wife, happy life, or don't go to bed angry. And I'm like, 100%. I know you didn't make it 70 fucking years with that shit. How about?
I know. I'm like, you guys have so much to give. I'm talking like 65 plus years of marriage usually. And it's commendable. It's seriously, I love the anniversary dance.
Me too.
I think it's so cool. I'm like, wow, if you guys can make it, all of us can make it.
Those old people.
And I'm like, you guys have such wise words to give us, and I want to digest them, and you come at me with happy like, wife, happy
even
life.
Hit me with like have dinner together every night.
I would love that. I was like, oh my God, I would definitely do that. You know, but you're giving
Don't give me a cliché. Don't give me a cliché.
Clit-che. I know something. I wish. Okay, well, maybe because they don't know, you know? They're put on the spot or something.
I really do feel like cliches had a chokehold on society for so very long.
And at weddings specifically too, you know? Also, I think it's just the generations of like, we overshare as like the younger generations and they're just like, we've been happy our entire lives. And I think they'll go to the grave with it, you know?
They gotta.
Yeah. And, you know, I think for us, we would.
The truth.
Like when we get older and we're winning the anniversary dances, we're going to come up with some bomb ass advice. Specific, but good quality advice.
Yeah.
That hints that we've experienced trauma like you know?
Yeah. Another one that I've heard is just don't get divorced.
I've never heard that.
If your whole motivation for staying married is just not get divorced, not have to deal with the shame of divorce, I'm like, your marriage sucks.
Yeah.
You know right away in the anniversary dance if they're like cute and old and actually happy, or if they're like, Hey, we've
just stuck this out for
we
this
got a lot
long.
of Catholic guilt.
No, this before we move on, but this couple said their answer was she's always right is one of them, and then she came back with he's sometimes right. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, moving on. Get it together. We'll be better when it's our turn.
Right.
And that's a millennial speaking as a true millennial, being like, we're gonna do better by society.
You can scroll back on my Instagram feeds for inspo.
Yeah.
When I'm getting real honest about shit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Also, we are coming at you live from
Jess's house.
My house. Yeah.
We love to see it.
Yeah, we do. It's nice over here. Won't be here long, hopefully.
Really? It's much calmer here. My animals are too much.
Well, they're about to be trained, so.
Hey, not the cats. Although Josh has been getting Queenie to sit for treats lately.
Oh.
Don't get me started on that cat. Queenie is the best.
Queenie is wild. Pickle. Oh, as we talked about. Pickle got into something recently. She's been throwing up a lot.
Just
lay down. Nope. Pickle. Lay down. As you just spoke this way into. Nope. Pickle. Lay down. Oh my God. Pickle.
Hey, we'll get there. We'll get there. She'll
just ignore.
Hey, everybody loves a nice dog. A dog cameo.
Moment. Yeah. Okay, guys.
So today we have some loose meat. I felt like we enjoyed having a little loose meat last time, and we're trying to keep things quality for you.
Keep things on brand, if you will. Just because these monthly updates are an update on our life, which we didn't even get into, which they could come up. I think they can come up naturally.
Yeah. Well, I talked about my anxiety. I talked about my pregnancy. I talked about anxiety. I talked about,
What about me, though?
Yep. Did you do what? Yeah, your 2-year anniversary.
We did. No, we don't have to go into it. Okay, I don't really have much update. I'm busy and work.
I feel like we're in the routine. That was the whole thing.
Right. It's fine.
We're not processing.
Busting balls. Okay. We are here to talk about codependency.
Specifically, our book review or thoughts on the book Codependent No More by Melody Beattie.
Which is, if you have been into therapy or are familiar with any type of codependency research, you know that this is Bible.
Yes.
This is Bible and codependency talk. And codependency, I'm gonna come out front with it, is a buzzword right now. I think it's floating around the psychology commune and people who are in therapy. So I kind of want to talk open and honestly and transparently about what this means. Mm-hmm. In Joe and I's relationship, I'm willing to go there with you guys today, and what I've been working on in therapy, but also like keep you guys knowledgeable in what this word means and how to know if you have it, and some things that you can do to work on if you don't want to be codependent anymore.
Which nobody wants to be codependent or should be codependent. It is not healthy. But yeah, I mean, a lot of this is actually the first book I've ever started to read on audiobook, which is very interesting. Melody is from Minnesota, so she has such a Midwestern accent.
I listen to it as well. Well, I feel like it's easier.
Yeah, because it's hefty. Like, some of it is like, oh, this is interesting. This is the tea on someone's life, which I like. Mm-hmm. And then some of it's like, whoa, this is This is brain science.
Yeah. Which is, I feel like, was hard to listen to, too. That part was like, oh, you kind of lost me. It's like sometimes I needed to, read it at my own pace and then reread it again to, digest it.
So before we get started, I thought it'd be helpful to go from the book on codependent characteristics. I think it would be good just so you can kind of see behaviors, because sometimes you can put a definition out there and you're like, what does that really mean? Yeah. But she kind of splits them up into caretaking, having low self-worth, repression, obsession, controlling, blah, blah, blah. Caretaking, I feel like, is a big one. So I'm going to read a few from each one. So codependents may think and feel responsible for other people, for other people's feelings, thoughts, actions, choices, wants, needs, well-being, lack of well-being, and ultimate destiny. Codependents may feel anxiety, pity, and guilt when other people have a problem. They can feel compelled, almost forced, to help that person solve the problem, such as offering unwanted advice, giving rapid-fire series of suggestions, or fixing feelings. They may feel angry when their help isn't effective, anticipate other people's needs, etc., etc. Signs of low self-worth in codependency. You blame yourselves for everything. Pick on themselves for blaming for everything, including the way they think, feel, look, act, and behave. Get angry, defensive, self-righteous, indignant when others blame and criticize the codependents, something codependents regularly do themselves. Reject compliments or praise. Get depressed from a lack of compliments and praise. Think they're not quite good enough. Repression in codependency. Push their thoughts and feelings out of their awareness because of fear and guilt. Obsession and codependency. Feel terribly anxious and about problems and people. Lose sleep over problems or other people's behavior. Never find answers. Check on people. Wonder why they never have any energy and wonder why they can't get things done. Controlling, which I thought was a very interesting part. Many codependents have lived through events and with people that were out of control, causing the codependents sorrow and disappointment. Become afraid to let other people be who they are and allow events to happen naturally. Don't see or deal with their fear of loss and control. Try to control events and people through helplessness, guilt, coercion, threats, advice giving, manipulation, or domination. I feel like control really made me think of a lot of like helicopter moms. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like we dealt with a lot of like friends' moms that were just like up their asses.
So I find this really interesting too, which is like eye-opening if you're thinking that you're codependent. It's like you confuse helping others with manipulating or trying to control. Mm-hmm. And you're like, no, I'm just trying to help them. I'm just trying to make them see this way. In the end, it's better for them. Mm-hmm. In the end, you're just being a manipulative person. And that's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow too. And I think it's something you have to sit with. And once you start realizing that, you know, maybe some of these things rang true for you, you're like, fuck, you know, like maybe I need to take a peek. That you will see that maybe you're just trying to control. And it's funny because I never thought of it either. Like, I'm not a controlling person. I didn't think that, but this, you know, this need of taking care of someone else's needs, desires before your own or instead of your own, that's a huge red flag on the play.
Yeah. And there's so many more. There's literally, like, I just did a couple cliff notes of ones that I liked and felt like were broadly relatable. But codependency, a lot of this book stems from work in like the alcoholic community, like AA, Al-Anon. Like that's the background Melody Beattie has. Mm-hmm. And that's how the word codependency arose in like the 1970s, was codependence. Like you think it comes on like a dependence on a substance. And then they found out that the spouses of a lot of these people and the partners and kids of a lot of these people were just as bad as the addicts themselves, with the need to control and the need to, like, the obsession over that person and that person's behaviors, even though ultimately they were out of their control.
Right.
You can't control another person. But in your mind, when you're in active codependence, you feel like, if I just stay home, if I plan these events, they won't drink or they won't slip back into those habits. If I rearrange these things, our life will be better and I'm in control. But what I thought was interesting, I wrote down a couple things as I was listening to this book. The need to control leads to an inability to control our thoughts and feelings. So when it quickly spirals out of like, you're losing sleep at night, you're unable to like set it aside. It is all consuming. And because I think in my experience, like with codependency, definitely my last marriage, and I feel so removed from that now.
Interesting.
It's very hard for me to like go back there just because it seems like forever ago, but I know that's what we struggled with. I know, looking back, it was a mutual toxic codependence on each other to the point where like we didn't enjoy going out and doing things together because we were so preoccupied with what the other person was doing and thinking and feeling. Like, how are they acting in this situation? What's their body language like? What did they just say? Why did they just say that? What does this mean? What does that mean? And it got to the point where we were like, maybe we just won't have mutual friends. Maybe we just won't go to church together. Maybe we just won't.
So scaling back because you're like, I am so worried about all these other things. Let's just cut it out of our lives, which is so unhealthy. Yeah, it's wild. I feel like my journey with it, I think it's covered in dog hair.
I know, and I tried my best.
It's fine. It's been different. I have some other signs too, like just signs or things that would stick out. And for me, the biggest one is if their mood determines your mood. And as we know from stories of Joe, he does get stressed really easily, and that affects me majorly. So I will go out of my way to make things easier for him. And that is a codependency that is not helpful for either one of us. I'm enabling him and not teaching him how to deal with life on his own. Also, if he has a big emotion toward the stressful thing that I tried to avoid and he has a reaction to it, and I'm like, I feel like you're reacting. You're too stressed out about this small thing. That's controlling and manipulative. It's like he's allowed to have that big emotion, you know? We're working through that as well. So I think that the big one for me is like how he's acting or what mood he is in is going to affect me big time. And it's okay to affect you, right? Like you're allowed to have a certain reaction. But if it determines that you're going out of your way, you know, hurting your happiness and mental health to make things easier or better for the other person. Yeah. There is a little toxicity soup in that.
And another line from the book that I wrote down was, too much dependency on a person can kill love. Yeah. And I truly feel like that, I mean, that happens all the time in relationships, but it gets to this point where like you are trying to control and manage someone's life so much that this resentment builds up and you don't even realize it. And when you confuse that control and that obsession with love, it quickly sours whatever that relationship was for you. And
because you're not looking at them as a partner anymore. You're just doing everything, right? I guess depending on what it is. Like obviously there's so many different ways to interpret it. It looks and manifests differently in everyone.
Well, I think for me, codependency in general is like contagious. Like if you have a codependent relationship with one person, you probably have it with other people. Because I'm trying to think now of like the person I have the most codependency with and that I actively work on is Madison. And we've talked about this and I can obviously get into it with, but I truly felt like when I left my marriage, I was able to like let go of a lot of those behaviors. Like I don't feel like I've carried those behaviors into my like relationship with Josh and like now our marriage. Like at our ultrasound the other day, Josh got his wisdom teeth out and the next day we had our anatomy scan and I really wanted him there just because if anything was wrong or anything, I was like, you need to be there. And I told him, you know, when he got his painkillers that I was like, hey, just don't take them on an empty stomach because you can get really sick. I say something once now. Like I say it once, you're an adult, you're almost 30 years old. This is my experience. This is what your fucking bottle of medication says. If you don't want to listen to it, I'm not going to take it on. You know what I mean?
Okay, I'm going to pause you here because I think this is a great example of the difference between this. This is what I would like. This is what I'm working on. You're an adult. You can do these things. So we go to the appointment. I've already told you once. That's it. I'm not going to worry about it again. And he does do that thing. For example, takes the painkiller on an empty stomach. And now he is not feeling well during my appointment. That ruins the experience for me. Then again, affecting me and my mood.
Right.
So what's the difference between that
for
you?
For me, okay. So Josh ended up, we get there. We're in the waiting room. I have to ask for crackers from the front desk because he's getting nauseous and very sick. And so I do that. We literally have to put water on these fucking animal crackers.
Which, if you can get a visual, crackers. That looks like fucking nasty throw up, I feel like.
But, you know, we're in the anatomy scan, and it's hard because when you're on a sonogram, like, you're moving around a lot. And so Josh was just like hand and head, eyes on the ground, like, and he just said, he was like, Rachel, I'm so sorry. I have to go. Like, I have to go out to the car. And I was like, okay. Like, he had stayed. Like, we saw that the baby was fine. Like, I felt like, I guess it's more like it's your loss in a way. Like,
you don't feel it deeply that it's yours. Like, this could have been a better experience if you had listened to my advice. Like, both of us would have been.
Not anymore, because for him, he was disappointed. And it's his disappointment to have, because truly, like, my happiness and contentment is not reliant on his behavior anymore. And I mean, that came from having a failed marriage, right? Like, it's annoying. It's annoying that happened. It's annoying that Josh didn't take time to have a piece of toast, but also he's the one that feels like shit. He's the one that didn't, you know, get to see our daughter move. He's the one.
Yeah.
Like, although I guess in my head, the difference now is, like, truly, like, my happiness isn't reliant on him. Like, I don't have this fantasy in my head of how he should act and how he should react, because he's just him. Mm-hmm. And he gets to make mistakes, and he gets to live with them. And he was sorry. And in the end, it's like, I knew that this appointment was the day after his wisdom teeth surgery, so I knew it wasn't going to be amazing anyway.
Right.
You know, I knew it wasn't like
there were going to be some bumps with anything.
But if you've ever gotten like, you know, your ultrasound done at a hospital, it's not the most romantic experience anyway.
I understand that.
Like, he's sitting over on the other side. I can't even see him. And you know, they're digging this freaking thing into my stomach, and I'm just like, she good?
Yeah.
She good?
Right. Like, this ain't cute.
Yeah. No. But yeah, I think that's like the ability to just let go has been what I've been able to carry on into this stage of my life.
Right. And so me working on that is that's the goal, right? And we've talked about me, like, it is harder for me to let go, or to let go of control of stressful things for Joe to handle. But as we talk about having a family, that's something that is really important to me. It's like, it's going to be an equal partnership and equal co-parenting. I don't want it any other way, or I will tend to do all of this stuff and end up resenting him and all of that. So I'm trying to get ahead of it for sure. But for me, Mary and I talk about doing like some grounding techniques too, like when it is happening. So say Joe's getting the dogs ready to go for a walk, and the dogs are crazy when they are about to go for a walk. Like, it's so stressful. They're running all over. They're jumping all over you. You're trying to put their collars on because it's a whole setup. So say I let him do that and he's like freaking out. My first reaction is to go do something else. I will do this. So I'm going to take the stressful situation and give you something less stressful to do. My job now is to let him finish it, and I have to go somewhere else. Or if Joe's freaking out in the kitchen because he's stressing over some meal or something, usually I'll go in and say, what can I do to help? I have to like go do something and remove myself, or say like, do you want help? And if he says, no, I want to handle this on my own, I have to either go for a walk. Yeah. I have to remove myself, because if he doesn't want my help, I have to go. It seems so simple, and I know that, but in our marriage, it's really hard for me to watch people I love struggle. And I think sometimes the codependence is like, they're manipulating, they're controlling. It's like these really big buzzwords about your personality that seems not great. And you don't think of yourself that way because caretaker comes to mind, people pleaser comes to mind, all these other, rescuer could be a good example, you know, and that all that stuff kind of sounds good, but only in moderation, guys. That's really, really exhausting to be that all the time. So it's the letting go part, and then also like sitting with a lot of uncomfortability for me. So
yeah,
that's what.
Do you feel like? Well, I think I've said this on the podcast before, but on another podcast that I listened to, someone phrased codependency as the inability to watch someone else sit in their own pain or their own struggle, like the inability to let that happen. And that really resonated with me, specifically like with my relationship with Madison and all of that. But do you feel like your codependency has formed from other relationships you've had, and it's just been this like gradual spiral? And I feel like marriage is like the ultimate like stewing pot for codependency. Like it's real easy to like fall into it.
We've kind of narrowed it down to me and my parents not knowing their emotions and not being able to understand or control any of them and during childhood was really difficult for me. That I had no idea what type of mood my dad was in, and he was a terrible communicator. He's working on it, but it's been really hard for me. So trying to get ahead of things or do things that wouldn't make him upset or mad. I've done that my whole life. So doing that in, my now this family unit, it's very apparent.
Right.
We've definitely made that connection.
Yeah.
So take a bigger peek into a further back peek, because you can definitely we always root it back into something from childhood. So, and that's on therapy.
Yep. I think getting into like my current like states of codependence with Madison like stems from the inability to like watch her go through her own pain. But I feel like the difference now is like, although there might be times where like I start spiraling, like, is she going to be okay? Can she make it? Like, does she need me? Does she need me to do this? Should I take this on? Should I take it away from her? I remind myself that she has done so much for her life. She left her marriage. She pays her rent every month. She is a capable, responsible, intelligent adult. And for me to take that away from her and assume like she needs me in these situations or she needs me to be able to figure her life out is a slap in her face, because it's like she can do these things. And Madison is someone who also very much struggles with codependence because she grew up in, a home with alcoholism and addiction. And, now her parents are sober and they lead their AA groups. But that doesn't take away from the fact that as a child,
her life was regardless of how they are now. Her experience growing up was
so. And it's interesting, even beyond that, like relationships, even with adults in her life that aren't necessarily alcoholics, the codependency that she grew up with is quite heavy. And so her and I have had to talk a lot about, how to like put the brakes on at certain times. But I think the difference is like, I'm not losing sleep. That's usually my like thing is like, I'm not going to bed and spiraling thoughts about how Madison's going to pay her rent or how she's going to get Eric to school or how she's going to, when we're talking and, she talks about an obstacle or a struggle and she's invited me into that conversation, we can talk about that obstacle or struggle. If I find myself thinking about that constantly on repeat, that's how I know like you're not processing this the way you should, because it's her life. You're a part of her life, not the reason why her life is moving. And I think a lot of it is that just control factor of like, it's just a toxic part of my personality of like, I like being able to help people. I use air quotes, help people. I like being able to make things easier for them, whether that's helping people with their careers or helping them raise their kids or helping them. I have this thing of like, if I have the resources, why wouldn't I help? But you always have to go back to but am I helping to make myself feel good? Am I helping because it boosts my own ego? Or am I helping because I don't think that they're capable of doing it on their own? And those are the questions that you really have to like.
Which is so hard, because when it's happening, you're just in it. You're like, you're not fully slowing down and processing, why am I helping? Helping in our society is a wonderful thing. It's seen as, you know, like you're doing your part, you're a good friend, you're, you know, it's just disguised at all that. But when it's at the expense of your well-being,
right,
that's where you start to take a peek.
When your time and energy and resources is going into someone else that isn't you.
Right.
I think I've gotten to a point, you know, in the book talking about self-care and what that looks like. And something that I think is interesting, and this is kind of like a branch off of the whole codependent talk, because all the codependents struggle with self-care. And I also struggle with self-care in that, like, I've never understood what it meant. But also, I realized, because I think about, like, my mom, who's, like, just the queen of self-care. You know, she's going to get the manicure. She's going to get the massage. She's going to schedule all of the things.
What's her sign? She's a Pisces?
Yeah.
I get that, but I go ahead first, but I want to talk about I feel like I'm selfish enough to give myself self-care. And for me, the definition of self-care and codependency is living a life outside of your partner.
Yeah.
Which I do.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't struggle with that part. It's just the other shit.
But I felt like
gray area,
maybe
for sure.
a reason why I don't feel deprived of self-care is because, in general, the past at least 3 years of my life, I don't really do shit I don't want to do. So I don't feel drained a lot.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, when I'm, you know, sucked into the editing cave, and, like, even when I'm doing stuff that I'm excited about, like, in general, it's like I don't have a career that I'm constantly, you know, drained by. I don't have relationships that I don't enjoy. I don't do things I don't want to do. So I feel like this book really helped me realize why, like, this whole self-care thing is, like, not at the forefront of, like, what I feel like I need, because in general, I don't do a lot of shit I don't want to do. Like, self-care to me is, like, I've never understood it. We've talked about this so much. Like, I'm like, because, like, I don't get the gratification of doing something like that. Like, you know, whether it's getting my nails done or, like, getting my hair done, or, like, I've tried
But we need to get away too from, like, self-care with this, like, pampered. You know,
right.
if another person tells me to take a fucking hike when you're depressed, like, shut the fuck up. You know, like, that's not the same for everyone. It's not a one size fits all thing. It could, you know, and it's not always like sitting down with a book and reading. People who have ADHD, that's one of the hardest things you can fucking do. So it's like finding what that is, no matter what it is, you know, that's not.
I guess I'd more just mean, like, the taking time for yourself.
Yeah.
Which to me, like, I mean, as far as my mom and, like, the people that have exampled self-care to me.
Right.
There's a lot of it's that.
Right. But,
like,
I mean,
even,
just
like, sitting down and
general.
watching a TV show or anything, like, anything can be self-care. But, like, I do the things when I want to do them. So I never know when self-care is self-care. Because I'm like, if I want to watch a show, I'm going to watch a show.
But I think if you feel fulfilled by it, then that's that you got something out of it. You're like, I feel better after that. Or, you know, something that you felt you chose to do instead of what you have to do.
Yeah. Like, I don't feel like I deprived myself of things.
I do agree, because we've talked about that too. And you're like, I don't know how to fucking relax. You're like, I think when you were struggling, you know, with mental health in the past, you were like, I'm like, you know, trying to think of some things you could do and to decompress. And you're like, I don't know. I don't do things I don't want to do, Jess. So you're like, so like, I think it's just finding little pockets of peace in your daily life. If you're just like, if those typical societal self-care tips are just not for you. I
feel like when we have our daughter, it will be more apparent to me when I need time to
100%. Well, you're about to be
I feel like it will be easier.
You're going to be pushed to some limits you've never been pushed, and you're going to feel like. And I think for you, it's just going to be maybe time away. Go take a drive. Go to fucking Target. It's like that. That stuff is stuff that's for you, only you. Mm-hmm. You know, that's how I would define it. Mm-hmm. Where do I go from here? What do I do? You know what? Just listen to this pod. And I feel like me, you know, where do we go? Okay. So here are some generic tips. Obviously, is just admit it, realize that, okay, do some deep diving. Like, okay, I am codependent. This is for sure me. Sit with that for a while. Sit with it, digest it, and understand that. And then you can move forward to get help. And obviously self-care, realizing you need to have a life outside of this person. You need to put you first. That's what's important. And a therapist is a really great aid in that. And you may not feel like you're getting anywhere when you're just spewing stuff out at a person, but I promise it's worthwhile. For Joe and I, a lot of this stuff I felt like I was holding on to was just like expectations of household chores or like life stuff. It was like I would do the trash one week, he would do it the other. And then if he didn't do it, I'm like, wait, why didn't you do that? It's stupid shit like that. Mm-hmm. So I am in the process of reading a book called Fair Play. I don't know the author off the top of my head, but I can obviously put in the notes. It comes with a card game. So you sit down. You and
Joe are into it.
Oh, yeah. So we sat down and went through all the cards that make sense in our unit, in our family. And it's little things to big things, as far as a lot of the stuff is geared towards families too, like people with kids. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of stuff like that, but a lot of stuff isn't. So like examples can be like there is a self-care card. There are like you get the toiletries, you do the trash, cleaning out the garage, stuff like that. Like whose duty is that? And it should never be a shared thing, which is really interesting because we're like, oh, we both can help out with that. But that doesn't help if it's like that's your card, that's your responsibility. And then you talk about the conceive, plan, and execute of each card, which I think was really helpful for us because it was like, okay, what does the trash mean then? Or what does laundry mean? Does that mean do the laundry, fold it, and then put it away for each person? Because when things aren't done, for me, I think with household stuff, obviously it goes a bit deeper, but if it's like, if that stuff is just half-assed, I get really upset about it. And I feel like he's being lazy. He's, you know, this act of service doesn't show his love for me because acts of service is huge for me. So when things are done the wrong way or half-assed, that means he doesn't know the whole execution of that job. I know that sounds really like planned out, but it really did help us. And he really loved having the autonomy of knowing like, okay, this is my responsibility. I want to show up in this marriage in this way. Mm-hmm. Now I know exactly how to do it, exactly how you want it, Jess. Same for like me on the cards that I have. It's like, I didn't know all that stuff was technically my job, you know, but it's like, oh, cool. I would glad to like be taking that and be helping you out with that or taking that off your plate. Yeah.
And so, I think like what this is highlighting is it's improving on your guys' independence,
right,
in your relationship. It's giving you guys individualized like power in your own, like whether that's your daily tasks,
right? It's giving us like autonomy and confidence in these jobs that we have within the marriage. Like we loved going through it. Joe loves, first off, games. It's like a card game, and then second off, like owning the stuff and knowing the expectation from me of those cards, of those jobs. So this is our first week. So it's like, it's brand new, but I'm really excited about it. I was so nervous. I'm like, he's going to think this is just such corny shit. But afterwards he's like, no, like if anything, this was like one of the best conversations of like understanding expectations of what stuff should be done. So,
right. Because I feel like before a lot of those conversations were coming from like,
I was already
exasperated.
Upset.
You're already, so it's like it's hard to have a constructive conversation with someone when they feel like they need to be on the defense or like they're being scolded. Mm-hmm. But instead of just being like, okay, we're gonna have this honest conversation about where we need to be,
right,
and what we can each be doing for our house, and for our relationship. And
there's other things too. It's like date nights, making friends with plans. I mean, making plans with friends. God damn it.
Damn,
Jess. I know, I'm down bad. The period mouth has got me bad. Oh my God. Okay, but anyway, so there's other things besides household chores. I feel like that for me is just important. But I like it so far. They tell you to every 2 weeks or plan to meet back up and like, how did that go? Like what things were not done? What would you want to improve on? Like just understanding expectations, I think, is important. And I don't know. We'll give it a go. Anyways, that's our example. That's not going to work in everyone's family, and I know that. But
I think it's just really helpful when thinking about codependence, like trying to figure out which areas of your life, which relationships in your life have that codependence. A lot of it is between, you know, children and parents. That's a lot of the time where it stems from. But like I said earlier, like if you have codependence in one aspect of your life, you probably approach every single relationship with codependence because that's what you think connection is. That's what you think intimacy is.
Mm-hmm.
Like the obsession and the constant worrying and caretaking for someone. It's hard to separate.
Absolutely.
Those things.
Absolutely.
But I think it's very... there's a lot of motivation that comes from the freedom. Like the freedom that I feel like in my relationship with Josh, like just being able to say like the differences. Not that like, you know, I just have had a failed marriage. So like I've known what of my behaviors I did not want to take into and what behaviors like didn't help my marriage. And although there are 100 other reasons why I ended up getting divorced, I think mine and Josh's relationship, that's one of the main differences in my head. Because, you know, like we just got married. So I'm thinking like, what really are the differences? You know, like how is this time going to be different? And it's just this like knowledge that like I am completely capable of doing life on my own. I'm completely confident in my ability to exist and thrive independently. And that happiness is not dependent on him. Mm-hmm. He makes me happy. We have a lot of fun together. I think, you know, he makes me better and he challenges me in a lot of ways. All of those stupid, corny bullshit things that we, you know, say about love. But in the end, I'm not holding my breath for him to do something to make me happy. Mm-hmm. I am just living my life and he's living his life. And we are coexisting. Yeah. Coexisting.
Go in the same direction. Right next to each other. For sure.
Right. But it is like you really do have to check yourself when you think like, am I holding an obsession in my head over this person, over their actions, over their feelings? Because it's exhausting.
Absolutely. And that's one of the main reasons why it's like, I don't want to feel that way. I don't want my anxiety to rise when I see him in front of me stressing out. But my body's doing it. I'm having like a physiological reaction to it. And I don't want that. Like no part of me wants to like put out fires for him and save him from everything. Like I don't want that. That's just what's happening. And so it's like being aware of it and like just you can release that control. You have the tools. You just need to figure out what they are.
And I think the more opportunities you give Joe to figure shit out on his own, it will become easier for you to do it because you're like, okay, it gets done.
Right.
It does get done. And the more he gets the dogs ready for a walk, the easier it will be for him 100%. To get them ready for a walk.
And it's like, he also feels like he doesn't feel confident in that task because I've never let him do it. It's always like, I'm enabling him, right? I'm taking this stuff off his plate where it's like, he's fully capable. Right. He wants that confidence to be doing something super helpful, you know, like so he agrees to, like, I talk to him about all this stuff. I'm transparent. He knows. He's like, yeah, I don't like feeling like I'm not capable of that because he knows that he is. But he's like, I also want you to, like, feel like you're important, you know? Mm-hmm. So open conversation, guys. This was a deep topic. We went pretty deep there.
But it's
on brand.
It's high time. Also, have you noticed that I only have one earring on?
No, I've been staring at the side of your face. Just this side.
The YouTube hasn't gotten both earrings.
YouTube community, we're back.
Well, you're not going to get both. There's only one on. Someone came to the door while I was putting on my earrings, I think. So it didn't make the two, but.
Well, thank you all. We are here with our monthly episode. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And codependency isn't the end of the world. Don't let these buzzwords think that you're a shitty person because it really manifests differently than everyone. And it's not a one size fits all. It's just if you're finding some tendencies, take a peek and get yourself in to see somebody.
Yeah.
It's great. It's a good journey to be on. So
this book is a very good jumping off point.
Yeah, but also there's other books. Great other books. Body Keeps a Score, which is like also Bible. If you know, if you've listened. That
is also a book about, isn't it, like sexual trauma? Like trauma to your body? Or?
It is in there. It's literally, it's like what your body is telling
Okay.
Physiological responses.
Because my sister
and where you're
recommends
holding
that book to people who are trying to, work through.
100%. It's great
assaults.
It's great for everything. I'm telling
you,
you,
it's good all around crowd pleaser.
It is. It's Bible. I also don't have authors listed here, but Survive to Thrive, I guess, is a huge one in the codependency. I was gonna say
topic.
No, just community.
Commune.
And then Peeling the Onion. I'll put authors in the notes, but those are some other ones to check out if you guys want to do some light reading.
Hey.
But yeah, so that's what we have for today. Stoked to be back. Stoked to be seeing you, Rach. Miss ya.
Miss you too. I'll see you next month.
And we will. And we'll see you guys next month. Thanks for being here. We love you.
Keep growing.
Yeah.
For you. Really get the jumps.
Which is cool because we'll see the progression. Okay. Mucho love. Goodbye.
Goodbye. We'll see you next month, guys.
This is For Better and Worse Podcast. I'm Jess.
I'm Rach.
And we out of here.